What's the most unforgivable thing a teacher ever did? I remember the room spinning as I slid down the wall, everyone staring as I clutched my chest and my vision started fading in and out. The gym teacher standing over me with his arms crossed saying I was just trying to get out of running. And I remember thinking this is how I'm going to die because nobody believes me. It started 3 weeks earlier when I first told him about my heart condition. I had hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which basically means my heart is thicker than it should be. And I can't do intense cardio or I could go into cardiac arrest, but I could still participate in most activities just at a lower intensity. And I had the medical documentation from my cardiologist explaining all of this. I handed him the note on the first day of class and watched as he barely glanced at it before shoving it in his desk drawer. He rolled his eyes and said, "Another one trying to get out of gym class," and told me to go change. I tried to explain that I wasn't trying to get out of anything, but he cut me off and said he'd been teaching for 20 years and knew when students were lying. The next few classes, he'd make these comments when I'd slow down during activities like, "Oh, look who's suddenly remembering their heart condition," or "Must be nice to take breaks whenever you want," and the other students started to think I was faking too. One girl even said, "If you have a heart condition, why aren't you skinny?" Which made no sense, but it hurt anyway. And I told my mom what was happening, but she said just to keep doing my best and follow my doctor's orders, regardless of what he said, so that's what I did until that day. We were doing timed mile runs, and I started at a slow jog like my doctor said was safe, but about halfway through, the teacher came up behind me and said loud enough for everyone to hear, "No more special treatment today, everyone finishes in under 10 minutes, or everyone stays late," and suddenly all the other students were telling me to hurry up, and I felt the pressure building so. I started running faster than I ever should have, and I could feel my heart racing out of control, but I kept pushing because everyone was watching, and I just wanted it to be over. Then suddenly it felt like someone was sitting on my chest and I couldn't catch my breath and I knew I was in trouble. I stopped and tried to tell him something was wrong, but he just pointed at his watch and said, "Tick-tock." So I tried to keep going, but my legs gave out and I collapsed against the wall as the room started spinning, and I heard someone say, "I think she's actually sick," but the teacher just said she's fine just being dramatic and told everyone to keep running. I remember trying to reach for my phone to call my mom, but I couldn't even lift my arm anymore and I was terrified because I knew what was happening. Thankfully, one of the office staff was walking by and saw me through the gym doors and called 911. I spent 3 days in the hospital and found out I'd experienced the beginning of cardiac arrest. When I came back to school, the principal called me into his office, and I thought finally the teacher would face consequences, but instead, the principal slid a paper across his desk and said the school board had reviewed the incident and determined that I had failed to properly emphasize my medical condition, and that I had participated beyond my known limitations without proper self-advocacy. They said the teacher acted appropriately based on the information available, and I would need to sign this form acknowledging my role in the incident to return to school, but I refused to sign it, and my parents threatened legal action, and suddenly the school found new evidence that changed everything. Turns out the teacher had thrown away my doctor's note and told other staff I was faking it. He was put on administrative leave and eventually fired, but I still have nightmares about that day, and I transferred schools because I couldn't handle the way some people still looked at me like I had somehow ruined that teacher's life by nearly dying in his class.